I want to get to the second part of this. So the first thing is IT organizations have to first and foremost become learning organizations. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It doesn't mean lots of good training. It was made popular by Peter Senge in the book The Fifth Discipline, and it basically means an organization that is fundamentally devoted at its core to continuous improvement, continuous change. My classic example of this is the Ritz-Carlton chain. So I don't know how many of you know, but they have a very interesting policy that anybody in the company, and I mean anybody, all the way down to a janitor to a housekeeper, is authorized to spend $2,000 without asking anybody, without any approval, to make a customer happy, to solve a customer's problem. Now, that is often quoted in the context of customer experience and customer satisfaction. And it does all those things. But the part that you don't often hear is that they're not done. So while they are empowered to do that, that empowerment comes with a duty. The Ritz-Carlton is an extremely complex IT system. It sits on the back end. It's basically a big giant data analytics tool. And as soon as they do that action, they then are required to go back to this computer. Again, if we're talking housekeepers, janitors, doesn't matter. And log in. What happened? What they did to resolve it? Was the customer satisfied? And what do they think could be done next time? And this data is culled and analyzed and fed into this process where they are continually improving their service with that data. It's a systems view. Okay, I'm spending way too much time here. But one other thing, I'm going to just talk real briefly about this. One of the CIOs I interviewed for the book is a guy by the name of Bill Ray. He was the CIO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Rhode Island. He has now been promoted to COO. And his statement was this. He says, you can never become a learning organization if you stay sequestered away in your data centers and your cubicles. The only way to become a learning organization is to become forward deployed. IT, he said, isn't even 90% about people anymore. It's 98% about people. Forget the bits and bytes. If you're not talking to your customers, if you're not living your life in their life, you can't become this kind of a learning organization. So when we talk about learning organizations, we're fundamentally talking about the culture, which is why I started with this thing, saying that we have to believe that we can change this culture first and foremost. The second trait is discipline. Now this one's a little bit easier for most IT organizations. This is a lot of the ITIL, COBIT, Six Sigma stuff. This is where we've spent a lot of time and energy. My challenge is I think a lot of organizations haven't done this right or with the right focus. Because there is only one reason you do this, and that is to build trust. CIOs will often, or IT executives will, maybe they'll go read a book, maybe they'll read my book someday, and they will then decide, I need to be strategic. And they go off and they go talk to their business counterpart. You know what their business counterpart says? It took me 3 weeks to get a PC on my desk for my admin. How about you guys do the basic stuff right first? The reason we need to get our discipline down is because we need to become this well-oiled machine because it gives us the right to go further. It is that foundation of trust. And when we take discipline too far and it becomes bureaucratic, it does the exact opposite. So discipline for the sake of discipline is meaningless. Discipline only exists to engender trust. The third trait, and I apologize, I know I'm kind of flying through these. The third trait is transparency. This is where it starts to get hard for IT folks. Transparency. What does that mean? It means just unabashedly exposing to our customers how we're doing, what we're doing, financially, operationally. Now, we've got this veil of trust issue, quite frankly, this veil of secrecy, the FUD factor. You ever seen these lawyer movies where there's something going on and the prosecution finds this juicy piece of data, this information that they have to give to the defense? What do they do when they don't want them to find it? They send them everything they've got. Bury it, right? Make them sit through 200,000 pieces of paper to find it, hoping that they never will. When IT organizations try to do transparency, that's what we do. We just open the technical kimono to our customers and say, look at all this junk. And what are we hoping? That we confuse the heck out of them so they just give us what we want. Guys, that's not transparency. Right? That's this FUD factor. Here's what transparency is. Transparency is choice. It's choice. I have a great story about my mechanic and how he does this. I actually put it in the book. And to give you an idea, he's the only mechanic I know that drives a Bentley. And that is a statement of the amount of trust that he has with his customers because of the amount of choice that he gives them, that level of transparency. So transparency is about trust, or choice rather. The fourth, gets really hard now, intimacy. What does this mean? Does this term even mean anything to you guys? In marketing, there's a term called customer intimacy that has been picking up. It's actually been in existence for about 20 years, but it's starting to become in vogue. And it really means this. It means creating a fundamental relationship. From our standpoint, it's a business-driven relationship with our customers. This idea, and with all due deference to some of the other folks that spoke, mark my words, requirements will be the death of IT. Because as long as we define, and I don't mean we don't need requirements, don't get me wrong, don't throw things at me, nor do I mean we don't need SLAs. But here's the thing, as long as we define the relationship with our customer based on requirements and SLAs, we lose before we start. Because we are basically expecting them to tell us exactly what it is we build. A, we're turning ourselves into glorified order takers. And B, they don't know. They just don't. The iPad, arguably one of the best products ever released. Do you know how much market research was done in terms of customer focus groups? How much time was spent asking customer the requirements? 0. Steve Jobs was asked about it. You know what he said? It's not the customer's job to know what they want. Customer intimacy, Bill Wright put it this way. I stole the line from him. He says, I tell my folks, don't expect your customers to meet you halfway. We need to go 80% of the way and let them crawl the last 20% to us. But we need to live our life on their terms. We need to understand their needs, their challenges, where they're going and what they're doing before they do. So that we can give them the technology-enabled tools to make it work, to make it better. So, fundamentally, intimacy means a relationship. But it means a real relationship. Intimacy is not, it means what it means with you and your spouse. It is that kind of close relationship. Ashwin Rangan, CIO of Edward Life Sciences, put it this way. He says, people don't like this because it means letting it all hang out. It means getting very uncomfortable because you're mutually vulnerable. That's what this means. But I ask you to pause for just a moment and envision, what would the relationship with your customer be like if you had that kind of open relationship? And what would that do to the services you deliver? The last trait is that we must become dynamic organizations. And this is really the super trait. It's a compilation of all the 4 before it, transformed one more time. Where we bring all these pieces together, and it's no longer the bits and pieces, but we integrate them to fundamentally create, this work comes back to technology. Technology platforms that are at their core dynamic. That allow us to react based on what we now know about our customers and based on the relationships that we have with them. It is fundamentally about sustainability. You heard a little bit about today. I loved what the keynote gentleman was talking about this focus on non-functional requirements, because that gives you platforms that can adapt. That's what this is. My only argument to him is that you can't begin to have that kind of a relationship or conversation with your customer until you've done these other things. Until you've first built a learning foundation for yourself. Secondly, when you've built enough discipline and rigor that it actually works. That you've built enough transparency that you set the stage to have an intimate relationship with your customer. It's only then, that you have a chance at succeeding at this. And this is where you're going to see, a huge crash in a couple of years. All these people going down the road of private clouds and high-end virtualization, thinking, because they're doing this from a technology stack perspective. But if they think they're going to succeed without focusing on the people side of that equation, it's going to just crash and burn. Hundreds of millions and billions of dollars are going to be flushed because they haven't done this groundwork. So fundamentally, it's about creating this agile type organization. Okay, I know we're basically out of time. So here's what I really wanted to get to. What does this mean to you? I don't know what your jobs are in IT, but I know this. No matter what they are, they're going to be different in the future. Because this future is happening with or without us. Here's my challenge to you. I believe that you have two choices. To allow this future to happen to you, or to lead this future in. Are you going to lead this change or allow it to simply happen to you. In order to lead this change, which I believe you all need to do, there are 5 skills, and I'm going to have to go through this even faster. So I'm just literally going to name them. They're going to, hopefully, again, what you're going to see, these aren't technical. These are business skills, right? And that makes them hard and uncomfortable. But the big message is you have to start coming to terms with the fact that your strongest skills, your most important skills in the future will not be your technical skills. And if you're a dyed-in-the-wool, I'm a tech geek, then you're either going to be working for Google or Microsoft or Amazon, or you're not going to be working in IT. They simply, with the exception of the very, very largest organizations, maybe, are not going to continue to exist in the way they have in the future within the IT organization. So here are the 5 skills that I believe you're going to have to learn or improve on. Financial management. Dollars are the language of business. I have this whole section in the book that goes into this, and I obviously don't have time right now, but any conversation that we have with a customer going forward that does not have a financial element to that conversation, I mean any conversation, we lose. It is the language they speak. It is how every decision, if you think about it, in your own personal life makes. I have a garage door opener that, I'm almost ashamed to admit this, I have to sit there and hold it to get the thing to close, and I have to time it just right. It's like a game to let go of it so the actual door stays shut or it pops back open. And someone asked me, why haven't you fixed it? What was my answer? Is it going to cost me $200 to fix it? And it's not worth $200. I'll play the game. Every decision we make has a financial context in our real lives. Why do we think our customers are any different? And yet, how many times do we go in and tell them, well, why do we need to do this? And you give them because of compliance, or because, well, the upgrades do, and there's no financial math in that. We've got to learn financial management. Second, we've got to learn critical thinking, analytical skills. Now, this is the easiest for most IT folks in that this is our roots. This is where we came from. But I'm distressed about how many IT folks have just given it up. Best practices are the bane of this because we just go and follow the same thing over and over again. I have IT executives ask me all the time, Charlie, can't you just tell me what to do? No. You need to think about it in the context of your organization, your needs, the value your customers require. There is no cookie-cutter answer. We need to rekindle these skills. The third, marketing communications. I can't stress enough, but I'm not going to spend much time on it. We've got to learn how to communicate. IT people think we shouldn't have to market. We're above that. The customers should know everything of how good we're doing and all the value we provide. Guess what? They don't. And you know what? If we don't tell them, they're not going to know. And worse, now remember, we have competition. So if we don't market ourselves, someone else will be marketing us. Not the way we want. We need to learn these skills. The fourth, innovation and collaboration. This is not technology innovation. Again, technology innovation, we're in this world where SaaS provider, technology innovation is going to happen outside the walls of IT. But process innovation, and I'm not talking about ITIL type processes, I'm talking about business process innovation and how we leverage technology towards that end is the future. And it is our competitive advantage as a competitor, if you will. We're competing with all these SaaS providers. Our competitive advantage is that nobody should know our customers better than we do. And yet we allow that advantage to escape us all the time because we aren't being intimate with them, because we do not understand their business like we need to. Right? So that's where this innovation. Procter & Gamble, which sells nothing but commodity items, is one of the most innovative companies you will ever see, and it's all this type of innovation. And the last one is leadership. And here's my line. Every one of you, in any role, you are an IT leader. If we believe that all of this happens by senior execs, then we're dead on arrival. This happens. Here's the dirty little secret. I didn't talk about it, but my group is called the IT Transformation Institute. I work with organizations, large-scale organizational transformations. You want to know the secret? There's no such thing as organizational transformation. Organizational transformation is personal transformation multiplied thousands of times. This whole thing only works if each and every one of us steps up and leads this charge in ways big and small. If we don't do it, our leaders, senior managers, they can't do anything with it. They can't embody those traits if we don't learn these skills and step up. And that kind of brings me to the last point of this. What's coming here is unlike anything we've ever seen. The transformations that are going to happen as part of this are going to completely uproot everything. And in that, if you don't react, it's not a good thing for you. But for those that see it, those that understand what's coming, those that embrace these skills and help their organizations embody and build these traits, the future is incredibly bright. It is wide open. I talk to a lot of business execs. I sit on the board of a group that's made up of, it's all CEOs, COOs, and CFOs. And 201, they are deathly scared about whether or not their IT organizations are going to be able to do the job that they've got to do. They are our biggest fans. They want nothing more than for us to succeed. The future is bright. Anyone who tells you that IT, that it doesn't matter anymore, it's all a commodity, it's like a hogwash. Hogwash. It has never been more important. Clearly, huge pieces of it are going to be commoditized and utilitized. Fine. But the advantage that can be generated out of technology investments are staggering. And that's not going to end. So I want you to, here's my call, is to kind of be a part of this. So this site, it's called thequantumageofit.com. It's going to get blasted here in a few weeks as the book comes out. We're about to rebuild it. But you can go on there and sign up, or just give me a card, and I'll keep up to date about where this is going. Because what we realize is this is bigger than me, it's bigger than my organization, it's bigger than the book. This is going to take a whole bunch of people all over the place doing this. So my challenge to you is to be a part of this. But here's what I want to leave you with. I talked to a lot of these. I've been to a lot of these. It's really easy to sit here and be passive. Say, hell, there's some interesting ideas, hopefully. Your challenge is to act, to do something. Because if you do not act on this, none of this happens. And as I said, I believe this future happens with or without us. And if it happens without us, not only is it really bad for you, for me, for us, it's bad for our customers. It's bad for everybody. It's bad for the taxpayers in your case. Because your organization needs this. They need us to win. They need us to succeed. So your jobs have never been more important. The opportunity has never been greater. So my challenge to you is to seize it. And I know we ran through that, so I'm happy to hang around for a little bit.
I'm sorry that you have to go through this so quick. You had a lot of things more to tell us.
Yes.
And I think you inspired the whole audience here. So thank you very much. Got some local stuff.
Very nice, thank you.
To think about it when you're back home.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is it possible that you are available for people who have questions
Absolutely.
in the speakers room?
Sure,
Wherever.
Okay. Yeah.
Voor half an hour is dat ook?
Sure, absolutely.
Oké, voor als je nog wat aan om te vragen hebt of iets anders, dan gaat hij nu naar de sprekersroom. Het is nu pauzetijd, dan kan je daar gewoon even gebruik maken. En als er nog iets is wat je graag met hem wil delen of wil vragen, kan je dat daar nog gewoon een half uur doen. Ja.